An 11-year-old boy, perfectly dressed, valid ticket in hand, sitting quietly in his assigned seat, and then a flight attendant walks up and says, "Get out of that seat. You're making people uncomfortable." What happened next didn't just change one flight. It changed an entire airline industry. Let me ask you something. What does an 11-year-old boy need to prove to deserve respect? I want you to think about that question as I tell you the story, because what happened on a Tuesday morning at Denver International Airport will make you reconsider everything you think you know about fairness, dignity, and the quiet prejudices that live inside even the kindest seeming people. It's early. The sun hasn't quite broken through the Colorado sky yet. Terminal B is buzzing with that particular energy airports have, everyone moving with purpose, rolling suitcases clicking against tile floors, the smell of overpriced coffee mixing with jet fuel somewhere in the distance. And there, standing near gate 24, is a boy. His name is Ethan Carter. He's 11 years old, and he's about to fly alone for the very first time. Now, I need you to see him clearly, because how he looks matters to this story, not because it should, but because to some people it did. Ethan is dressed impeccably, button-down shirt, crisp and clean, navy blue sweater his mother picked out the night before, polished shoes that he spent 10 minutes shining that morning because his father told him, "First impressions matter, son." His backpack is new, but not flashy. His boarding pass is clutched in his hand. He's checked it at least 3 times already, even though his father showed him exactly where to look for his seat number. C2A, first class, Blue West Airlines flight 418 to Seattle. His father stands beside him, tall and calm, one hand resting on Ethan's shoulder. They've been preparing for this moment for weeks. Ethan is flying to Seattle to visit his grandmother, and his father can't come this time. Work obligations, meetings that can't be moved. So Ethan is doing this alone. "You ready?" his father asks, looking down at him. Ethan nods, but his hands are shaking just a little. You can see it if you look closely enough. Remember what we talked about? His father says quietly, kneeling down so they're eye to eye. "You belong wherever you choose to sit. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't. And if something feels wrong, you call me immediately. Understand?" "Yes, sir." "I'm proud of you, Ethan." They hug. His father holds on just a second longer than usual. Then Ethan turns, boarding pass in hand, and walks toward the gate agent. He doesn't know it yet, but his father watches him disappear down the jet bridge with a knot in his stomach, a feeling he can't quite name, a father's instinct that something isn't quite right. Ethan boards the plane. The flight attendants smile at him, that professional airline smile. He smiles back politely, just like his parents taught him. He finds his row. C2A. Window seat, first class, left side of the aircraft. He slides in carefully, placing his backpack under the seat in front of him exactly the way the signs instruct. He buckles his seatbelt. He arranges his things, a book, a small notebook, a pen. Everything neat. Everything intentional. He looks out the window at the ground crew loading luggage and feels a flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. This is it, his first solo flight. He wants to do everything right. Other passengers file in around him. A businessman in his 50s settles into seat 2C across the aisle. Expensive watch, tailored suit, laptop bag. He glances at Ethan once, then goes back to his phone. No questions, no concern. He belongs there. So no one wonders if he does. An elderly woman takes 3B behind Ethan. She smiles at him warmly and asks if he's traveling alone. Ethan says yes, politely. She tells him she thinks that's very brave. He says thank you. The interaction is kind, normal, but there are other glances too, the kind you feel more than you see. A woman across the aisle looks at Ethan, then at his seat number, then at him again. Her face doesn't say anything obvious, but there's a question in her eyes. She doesn't voice it. She just wonders. A man boarding behind her does the same thing. A quick look, a mental calculation. Then he keeps moving. Ethan feels it. That thing kids feel when adults are thinking about them, but not saying anything. That awareness that he's being noticed, He tries to ignore it, opens his book, tries to look calm, confident, like he does this all the time. He doesn't. And then she appears. Rebecca Stone, lead flight attendant. She's been flying for Blue West for 18 years. She's good at her job. Professional. Efficient. She prides herself on knowing her plane, her passengers, her protocols. She walks down the aisle doing her pre-flight check. Overhead bins, seatbelts, carry-ons properly stowed. Everything routine. Until she sees Ethan. She stops, looks at him sitting there in 2A. Then she looks at her passenger, manifest on her tablet. Then back at him. Her face shifts just slightly. A tightness around her mouth. A small crease between her eyebrows. She approaches with a smile. That flight attendant smile that's friendly, but also firm. "Hi there, sweetheart," she says, her voice sweet, but with an edge underneath. "I think you might be a little lost." Ethan looks up from his book. His heart jumps into his throat. "No, ma'am," he says quietly. "This is my seat. 2A. Can I see your boarding pass, honey?" He hands it to her. His hands are steady, but inside he's panicking. Did he do something wrong? Did he read it wrong? Rebecca looks at the pass. Her smile tightens. "Sweetie, this says 2A, but unaccompanied minors aren't seated in first class. It's our policy. You're probably supposed to be further back." She's not mean, not loud, but she's certain. "My dad bought this ticket," Ethan says, his voice still polite, still respectful. "He called the VIP desk and arranged everything. I'm supposed to be here." Rebecca's smile fades just a bit more. "I'm sure there's been some kind of mix-up. Let me just call someone to help us figure this out, okay? In the meantime, I'm going to need you to move to the back of the plane so we can sort this out." "But this is my seat," Ethan repeats. He's not arguing. He's just confused and scared. "Can you call my dad? He'll explain." "We'll handle it, sweetheart. Right now. I need you to gather your things." A gate agent is called. Monica Lewis. She boards the plane, scanner in hand, looking slightly annoyed at the delay. Rebecca explains the situation in that hushed, exasperated tone. "Unaccompanied minor in first class. The system must have glitched." Monica scans Ethan's boarding pass. Beep. She looks at the screen. Her expression changes. He's in the right seat," she says slowly. It shows special clearance from executive operations. Everything checks out. Rebecca blinks. "That can't be right. I'm just telling you what the system says. And here's where it should have ended. Here's where someone should have said, 'Our mistake, sorry for the confusion,' and let Ethan sit in peace." But that's not what happened. First Officer Greg Harris appears from the cockpit. He's overheard the conversation. He looks at Ethan. He looks at Rebecca. He looks at the tablet. "What's the hold-up?" he asks, irritated. "The boy has a first-class ticket," Monica says carefully, but Rebecca thought. "Let's just move him to coach." Greg cuts in. His tone is cold, practical. "It's easier. We need to take off." "But he's paid for this seat," Monica starts. "I don't care what the screen says. Move him." And just like that, the decision is made, not based on policy, not based on rules, but based on something none of them will say out loud. Ethan is escorted to the back of the plane. Row 32, seat C, middle seat, near the emergency exit, a place usually reserved for adults because of safety regulations, but no one seems to notice that irony now. He walks down the aisle, past rows of passengers who are now openly watching. Some look uncomfortable. Some look confused. Most just watch silently. Ethan doesn't cry, doesn't shout, doesn't throw a fit. He just walks, head down, clutching his backpack, and slides into his new seat between two strangers who won't make eye contact with him. He buckles his seatbelt. His hands are shaking now, really shaking. The plane is preparing for departure. Flight attendants doing their safety demonstrations. The hum of the engines starting up, and Ethan sits there, staring at the seat back in front of him, trying to understand what he did wrong. Then, quietly, he pulls out his phone. He dials his father's number. It rings twice. "Dad? Ethan? You okay? Did you board?" There's a long pause. Ethan's voice is steady, but there's something underneath it. Something breaking. "Dad, it's happening again." 5 words. That's all he says. But if you're a parent, you know exactly what those 5 words mean. You know the weight they carry, the history they hold. Because this isn't the first time. 1 year ago, Ethan and his mother, Dr. Sarah Carter, a pediatric surgeon, were upgraded to first class on a different airline. They were pulled aside, questioned, asked to provide proof of payment. His mother had shown her credit card, her ID, her confirmation email. Even then, the looks didn't stop. His father had promised him then, never again. But here it was, happening again. And this time, Ethan was alone. On the other end of the phone, Marcus Carter's jaw tightens. He's still standing at the gate window, watching plane. He closes his eyes, takes a breath. Ethan, he says, his voice calm but carrying the weight of a decision already made. I'm coming to get you. Don't move. Don't say anything else. I'll handle this. Dad, the plane is about to. Not without me standing on that jet bridge, it's not. Marcus hangs up. He turns, and he walks with purpose, with calm, with the kind of controlled power that comes from a man who has spent his entire life navigating rooms that didn't want him in them and learning exactly how to reclaim his space. The gate agent sees him coming and instinctively steps back. Sir, the flight is about to depart. Not yet, it's not. And that's where we'll pause. Because what happens next? What happens when the father arrives and truth walks through that airplane door? That's a whole different kind of story. You know that feeling when you're watching something unfold and you can sense the air change? When you know something significant is about to happen, but you don't quite know what. That's what it felt like at gate 24 when Marcus Carter turned back toward the jet bridge. The gate agent, a young woman named Sarah who's only been working for Blue West for 6 months, sees him approaching and her instinct is to smile, to be helpful, to de-escalate whatever is coming. Sir, I understand you're concerned, but the flight is scheduled to depart in... Marcus stops in front of her. He's not aggressive. He's not loud. But there's something in his presence that makes her pause mid-sentence. My son, he says, his voice measured and clear, was removed from his assigned seat. The seat I purchased. The seat I specifically arranged with your VIP desk 3 weeks ago. I need to speak with whoever made that decision. Sir, if there is a seating issue, I'm sure the crew can explain. Then let's go ask them. Together. It's not a request. Sarah looks at the jet bridge. The door is still open. The plane hasn't pushed back yet. She makes a decision, probably the right one, and nods. Let me call the captain. Inside the plane, the cabin crew is going through final preparations. Rebecca is checking the forward galley. Greg Harris is back in the cockpit reviewing the flight plan with Captain Reynolds. The intercom crackles. Captain, we have a situation at the gate. Parent needs to speak with you before departure. Captain David Reynolds has been flying for 23 years. He's seen it all, or so he thinks. Delayed passengers, angry customers booking mistakes. This is probably just another one of those. He unbuckles, walks back through first class toward the door. That's when he sees Marcus standing at the entrance of the jet bridge. Tall, calm, wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than most passengers' round-trip tickets. I'm Captain Reynolds. What seems to be the problem, sir? My son was removed from seat 2A and placed in the back of the aircraft. I'd like to know why. Rebecca appears from behind the captain, her face already defensive. Sir, there was a confusion about the seating arrangement. Unaccompanied minors typically sit in economy and... Show me that policy. Marcus says evenly. In writing. I'd like to see it. Rebecca blinks. It's standard procedure. Show it to me. There's a long pause. The kind of pause that happens when someone realizes they've been operating on assumption rather than fact. We don't have that specific policy in writing, but it's understood that for safety reasons. Safety reasons, Marcus repeats. My son is sitting in row 32, seat C, a middle seat, next to the emergency exit, which, according to actual FAA regulations, requires passengers to be at least 15 years old and capable of assisting in an evacuation. He's 11, so let's not talk about safety. Rebecca's face goes pale. Greg Harris emerges from the cockpit now, irritated by the delay. Sir, We're trying to maintain our departure time. Then this will be quick, Marcus says. He's still calm, dangerously calm. I want to know why my son, who had a valid ticket, a confirmed seat, and special clearance from your executive operations, was moved to the back of the plane. It was a misunderstanding, Rebecca starts. Was it? Marcus looks at her directly. Did you misunderstand his boarding pass when it clearly said 2A? Did you misunderstand when your gate agent scanned it and confirmed he was in the correct seat? Or did you understand everything perfectly fine until you looked at him? The silence is deafening. Passengers near the front of first class are listening now. Conversations have stopped. Even the businessman in 2C, the one who barely glanced at Ethan, has put down his phone. Rebecca's voice wavers. Sir, I was just following what I thought was. You thought wrong, Marcus says simply. The question is why? And this is where everything changes. A passenger in row 4 stands up. A black woman in her 40s, dressed in business attire, holding her phone. Her name is Elena Rodriguez, and she's a civil rights attorney from Seattle. I saw the whole thing, she says, her voice cutting through the tension. The boy showed his boarding pass. He was polite. He was calm. And he was dismissed. There was no confusion. There was judgment. Another passenger speaks up, George Whitman, the elderly white man in the aisle seat of row 3. He clears his throat uncomfortably. I need to say something, he begins, his voice shaky. When I first sat down and saw the boy sitting alone in first class, I thought to myself, maybe he's in the wrong seat. I didn't say anything, but I thought it, and I was wrong to think it. I looked at him and made an assumption, and I'm ashamed of that. The cabin is completely silent now. Marcus nods at George, acknowledging his honesty. Then he turns back to the crew. You didn't know who his father was, he says quietly, but you knew what he looked like, and that was enough for you. Rebecca opens her mouth to protest, but no words come out, because she knows. Deep down, she knows he's right. Captain Reynolds shifts uncomfortably. Mr. Carter. Dr. Marcus Carter. And here's where it happens. A passenger in first class, a woman in row 1, gasps audibly. Wait, she says, standing up slowly. Dr. Carter? From Carter Dynamics. Marcus doesn't respond, but his silence is confirmation enough. Another passenger, a man with a Blue West employee badge clipped to his laptop bag, goes completely white. Oh my God, he whispers. Captain Reynolds's expression shifts from irritation to something approaching horror. Dr. Carter, as in CEO of Carter Dynamics, the woman from row 1 says, her voice carrying through the cabin. The consulting firm that she trails off, but everyone in the industry knows what she was about to say. Carter Dynamics is Blue West Airlines' primary consulting partner on diversity, equity, and passenger inclusion initiatives. Marcus Carter literally helped design the training program that every single person on this flight crew completed. He wrote the protocols. He built the framework. He sat in the boardroom with Blue West CEO and helped craft the language of their public commitment to dignity in every seat. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Greg Harris looks like he wants to disappear into the cockpit and never come out. Rebecca's hands are trembling now. Dr. Carter, I didn't know. Stop, Marcus says, holding up a hand. Don't apologize because you know who I am now. That's the whole problem. That's the entire problem. He steps fully into the aircraft, and Captain Reynolds instinctively steps aside. Marcus looks around at the passengers, at the crew, at everyone watching this unfold. I don't want your apology, because I'm Dr. Marcus Carter, he says, his voice carrying the kind of moral authority that doesn't need to be loud. I want you to understand that my son deserved basic respect when you thought he was nobody. That's the point. Dignity shouldn't come with a title. It shouldn't require a last name or a job description or a net worth. It should be automatic. Elena Rodriguez starts clapping, slowly at first. Then others join. The cabin fills with applause, not celebratory but affirming. The kind of applause that says, yes, this needed to be said. Marcus doesn't acknowledge it. He's not here for applause. Where's my son? He asks. Captain Reynolds points toward the back. Row 32. Marcus walks down the aisle. Every eye follows him. Past first class, past economy plus, all the way to the back, where Ethan sits squeezed between two passengers, his small hands folded in his lap, his eyes down. When Ethan sees his father, his composure finally cracks. Just a little. His eyes fill with tears he's been holding back. Marcus kneels in the aisle beside him. "I'm here," he says softly. "I'm here and we're going to fix this." "I didn't do anything wrong," Ethan whispers. "I know, son. I know." They walk back to the front together. Marcus's hand on Ethan's shoulder. Protective. Steady. When they reach the first-class cabin, Marcus turns to Captain Reynolds. "Here's what's going to happen," he says. "My son is going to sit in seat 2A, the seat we paid for, the seat he was assigned, and this plane is not going to take off until the people who removed him from that seat are removed from this flight." The cabin goes silent again. "Sir," Captain Reynolds says carefully, "I understand you're upset, but removing crew members in the middle of—" "I'm not upset," Marcus interrupts. "Upset is emotional. I'm clear. I'm clear that my son was discriminated against. I'm clear that it was wrong. And I'm clear that I will not allow him to fly on an aircraft staffed by people who made him feel less than human. So you have a choice, Captain. They go or we go. And if we go, I guarantee you the story of why will be on every news outlet by tomorrow morning." It's not a threat. It's a statement of fact. Captain Reynolds looks at Rebecca, then at Greg, then back at Marcus. He makes the call. "Rebecca, Greg, I need you to deplane. We'll bring in the standby crew." Rebecca's face crumbles. "Captain, please, I didn't mean—" "I know you didn't mean to," Captain Reynolds says quietly. "But intention doesn't erase impact. And right now, the impact matters more." 10 minutes later, Rebecca Stone and Greg Harris walk off the plane, replaced by two standby crew members who board with professional smiles and zero context about what just happened. There's no applause this time. No cheering. Just a heavy silence that settles over the cabin like fog. Ethan sits in seat 2A. His seat, the window seat his father bought for him. Marcus sits beside him in 2B, which he purchases on the spot at full price. He doesn't care what it costs. As the plane finally pushes back from the gate, Ethan looks out the window at the airport disappearing behind them. His face is unreadable. Marcus leans over. "You okay?" Ethan is quiet for a long moment. Then he says something that will stay with everyone who hears it. "I'm not angry, Dad, but I remember everything." 7 words. That's all, but they contain multitudes. He's not angry, because anger would mean lowering himself to their level. But he remembers, because forgetting would mean accepting that this is normal, that this is okay. Marcus squeezes his son's hand, and as the plane climbs into the sky, somewhere in the back of the aircraft, Elena Rodriguez opens her laptop and begins drafting an email to Blue West's corporate headquarters. George Whitman stares out his window, thinking about his own grandson, wondering what assumptions he's made without realizing. And in seat 2A, an 11-year-old boy who just changed the course of an airline's history opens his book and tries to read. But the words blur. Because even when you win, even when justice is done, the weight of having to fight for basic dignity never fully lifts. That's the truth no one tells you. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for everything to change. 3 weeks after Flight 418 landed in Seattle. 3 weeks after Ethan Carter sat in seat 2A and quietly endured what no child should have to endure. 3 weeks after his father drew a line in the sand and said, "Enough." The video went viral first. You know how these things work now. Someone records something on their phone, posts it, and within hours it's everywhere. Elena Rodriguez had filmed parts of the confrontation, not to shame anyone, but to document truth. She sent it to a journalist friend, then another. Then it was on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Airline removes black child from first-class seat. His father is their diversity consultant. The headline wrote itself. Blue West Airlines social media exploded. Thousands of comments. stories from other passengers who'd experienced similar treatment, parents sharing their own children's experiences, flight attendants, current and former, admitting they'd made similar judgments without realizing. The company had a choice: defend their crew, minimize the incident, or do something unprecedented. They chose the third option. And that's where our story really begins to transform into something bigger than one boy on one plane. Blue West Airlines headquarters in Seattle. A press conference room packed with journalists, cameras, and more scrutiny than any airline wants on a Tuesday afternoon. At the podium, Blue West CEO Jennifer Hartman. Beside her, Marcus Carter. And beside Marcus, wearing the same Navy sweater from 3 weeks ago, Ethan. The cameras flash. The questions start before anyone speaks. Is this a PR stunt? How much is the settlement? Will there be lawsuits? Jennifer raises her hand. The room quiets. 3 weeks ago, she begins, a young passenger on one of our flights was treated in a way that violated every value we claim to stand for. His name is Ethan Carter. He was removed from his assigned first-class seat based on assumptions that had nothing to do with policy and everything to do with implicit bias. She pauses, takes a breath. We failed him. Not just one flight attendant or one crew member. The system failed him. And when a system fails, the only appropriate response is to change the system. She gestures to a screen behind her. It lights up with a presentation title, The Ethan Protocol, a Framework for Dignity in Every Seat. The room erupts with camera clicks and scribbling pens. Jennifer continues, Today, Blue West Airlines is announcing a comprehensive reform initiative. Every crew member, gate agent, and customer service representative will undergo mandatory implicit bias training, not the standard 2-hour video, but a real, ongoing program designed by experts in psychology, diversity, and yes, aviation. She looks at Marcus, who nods. We're creating an escalation review board that includes not just airline executives, but community representatives and youth advocates. We're implementing real-time reporting systems where passengers can flag discrimination concerns immediately, and those concerns will be investigated within 24 hours. Another slide appears, revised boarding procedures, and specifically for unaccompanied minors in premium cabins, we are establishing proactive confirmation protocols. No child will ever again be questioned or moved based on appearance or assumption. Their presence in any seat will be verified, protected, and respected from the moment they board. The journalists are writing furiously, but then Jennifer does something unexpected. She steps aside from the podium. But this isn't my story to tell. It's his. She gestures to Ethan. The room goes quiet. An 11-year-old boy at a corporate press conference? This doesn't happen. Marcus leans down and whispers something to his son. Ethan nods. He walks to the podium, and someone quickly adjusts the microphone down to his height. For a moment, he just stands there, looking at the sea of cameras and reporters and adults all waiting for him to speak. And then he does. My name is Ethan Carter, he says, his voice clear but quiet. I'm 11 years old. And 3 weeks ago, I was removed from my airplane seat because someone looked at me and decided I didn't belong there. You could hear a pin drop. I've been thinking a lot about that day, about what I did wrong. I checked my boarding pass 3 times. I wore nice clothes. I was polite. I said yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. I did everything my parents taught me to do. His voice wavers slightly, but he steadies himself. And it still wasn't enough. Because the problem wasn't what I did. The problem was what they saw when they looked at me. A reporter in the front row wipes her eyes. I kept asking myself, was it my clothes? My backpack? The way I talked? But then I realized it was my face, the color of my skin. That's what made them think I didn't belong in that seat. Ethan looks down at his hands for a moment, then back up. I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because there are other kids like me. Kids who will board planes and get looks. Kids who will be questioned when they shouldn't be. Kids who will be told they're in the wrong place when they're exactly where they're supposed to be. He takes a breath. Respect shouldn't need a title to be given. It shouldn't matter if your dad is a CEO or a janitor. It shouldn't matter if you're flying first class or economy. Every person who boards a plane deserves to be treated like they belong there. His voice gets stronger now. I didn't want attention. I didn't want to be on the news. I just wanted to sit in my seat and look out the window and read my book and be a regular kid. That's all. That's all any of us want. He pauses, and when he speaks again, there's something profound in his words, something wise beyond his years. What happened to me wasn't the worst thing in the world. I know that, but it matters because if we don't speak up about the small injustices, they become normal. And when they become normal, they become invisible. And when they become invisible, they become permanent. The room is completely silent except for the soft clicks of cameras. So I'm speaking up, not for revenge, not to hurt anyone, but because maybe if people hear my story, they'll think twice before making assumptions about the next kid they see. Maybe they'll pause. Maybe they'll look again. Maybe they'll see a person instead of a problem. He looks directly at the cameras. I hope this protocol, this Ethan protocol, helps. I hope it changes things. But more than that, I hope people just see each other, really see each other. Because that's all I wanted that day. To be seen as Ethan. Just Ethan. He steps back from the microphone, and the room erupts. Not with questions, but with applause. Standing ovation. Reporters standing, cameras still rolling, capturing this moment of an 11-year-old boy speaking truth to power with more grace than most adults could manage. But Ethan looks almost uncomfortable with it. He's not here for the applause. He's not here for the fame. He just wanted fairness. The ripple effects came fast. Within a week, JetBlue reached out to Blue West asking for details about the Ethan protocol. Then Delta. Then Alaska Airlines. United. American. Even international carriers started paying attention.